Hey everybody, welcome into the Tuesday Waiver Wire live stream here at youtube.com/FantasyPros. I am Dan Harris. That is Lauren Carpenter. We are here to walk you through the perils of the waiver wire as we head into week 3. Lauren, how was your week 2? How you doing?
Week 2 was decent, although not awesome. Not awesome. There were a lot of injuries that were catastrophic. It could have been worse. We can throw that out there, but no, I didn't fare well this week 2.
Yeah, I'm waiting for our accuracy rankings to come out for this week. I can't imagine that's going to be quite as good as last week was for me. This was a difficult week. I thought, just generally speaking, to figure out what's real and what's not. And of course, you had the monstrous amount of injuries, like you said, that hit everybody right off the bat. So
Mm.
let's just get into it. Let's talk about it. There are a lot of good options here on the waiver wire that I see. So you've got your number one waiver wire pick, Lauren. You've got your pick of the litter. Who are you taking?
Oh God, this is so hard. Okay, so okay, I'm gonna go a wide receiver here. But I don't. I'm so hemming and hawing on this because the two guys that I really like the most are your home run hits, right? They're your boomer bust options. But I really like Henry Ruggs and I really like Rondale Moore. Those are the two that I really like. But if you are kind of hurting at running back, that one is a little bit more tricky. And I want you to talk me off this ledge, Dan, because I'm looking at Cordero Patterson.
Yeah, interesting about Cordero Patterson is he's probably eligible at both running back and wide receiver. So he obviously had a monstrous game in what is only the toughest matchup possible for anybody who plays at the running back positions. Scored 2 touchdowns. He was in on carries. He was in the receiving game. He lined up a wildcat. He lined up out wide. He lined up in the slot. He lined up in the backfield. Monstrous. I guess my question with you, Lauren, is what do you expect? Do you think that this is going to be what we see from the Falcons offense? Because to me, when I looked at it, it struck me as more they know they can't run the ball regularly against the Bucs, right? Even Patterson couldn't get anything going on the ground. So I felt like they came out and were like, we're going to be crazy. We're going to be super creative and throw some weird stuff at you to get him involved. I'm just not 100% positive that we're going to see that going forward.
I agree. I think long term, this is not going to be a Cordero Patterson season, if you will. But one thing that did impress me was the fact that he did see, was it 6 or 7 targets in the passing game, which I thought
Yep.
was interesting. Like you said, he is either a wide receiver or a running back. So there's that. He's an interesting flex option, I think, just for a week. But the Falcons have got to get something going on offense. And so far, the only person that it's succeeded with is Cordero Patterson. He scored 2 touchdowns, one on the ground, even though he only had 11 yards rushing. Like, that's not really what I'm looking for here. But the passing work was interesting against a very staunch Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. So it was intriguing that Matt Ryan looked for him and looked for him often in the red zone. So to me, if I'm desperate for some win at running back position that I know is going to get it done, it's Cordell Patterson. And the reason I bring that name up ahead of someone like JD McKissick is simply because of percentage rostered, because I think Cordell Patterson is going to be a little bit more available. But McKissick is another name too that has obviously gotten involved. Taylor Heineke really likes to check down. And that person so far has been JD McKissick.
You are correct on every point you pretty much
Thank
made,
you.
and of
Yeah.
course, of course.
Mhm.
But I'm looking at the rostered percentage here, and I can see this. These are teams that are imported. We use ESPN, we use Yahoo, we use CBS. You can see it across all sites. Cordero Patterson is 11.5% rostered, and JD McKissick is 35.5% rostered. So you are right that you are going to find Patterson available in most leagues. McKissick's interesting, right? And I think that you're right that the change with Fitzpatrick, Fitz was not a check down to the running back sort of guy. Fitz was like, are you in triple coverage? I'm
Mhm.
going your way 80 yards down the field.
YOLO!
So Heineke is different, and I think McKissick is probably more of a guy you can plug in as a flex play if you absolutely need to, particularly in PPR leagues. But even though he got the goal line work, not the work, but he did get a goal line touch and he converted it into a touchdown. I don't think you can expect that going forward necessarily. So I'm fine. I also have Patterson ahead of McKissick in my running back waiver wire rankings just because I think the upside is higher with Patterson. But for me, if I have the number one choice, and unless I'm desperate at running back, like you mentioned 2 wide receivers, both great options this week on the waiver wire, Henry Ruggs, and for me, the guy, and he has been the guy in the preseason. He was the guy, one of the guys at least last week. It's Rondell Moore. And
Yeah.
to me, here's the deal with Rondell Moore. What I really love about him. he has not played a ton of snaps. I was kind of hopeful in the preseason that he was going to work his way into the wide receiver 3 role for that Arizona offense because he got a lot of work out of the slot. He was heavily involved. I thought maybe Christian Kirk will take a backseat. Kirk is not. Kirk's ahead of him, certainly in playing time. But even with limited playing time, when he is on the field, Lauren, he is just involved. He is getting targets. He is, putting up production the second he touches the ball. And this is why they drafted him, right? Like they drafted him for his after the catch ability. So to me, if he's doing this with limited snaps, imagine what he's going to do when he gets even more snaps, which eventually is going to come. So for me, Moore is a guy who you can probably get away with starting right now as a flex, but long term, he's the guy I think is going to make a huge impact in fantasy leagues.
Yeah, the only reason why I would give Henry Ruggs, in my opinion, just a little bit of a hair over Rondale Moore. I like both of them, so please don't get me wrong, everyone that's listening. I also agree that Rondale Moore is an excellent stash. But the targets for Henry Rugg were a lot higher, and Derek Carr is in fuego right now. Kyler Murray is also in fuego. And Rondale Moore's real big, I think it was like a 77-yard touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
It was just ginormous, which was a funny picture, actually, because ESPN had a picture of like Kyler Murray and Christian Kirk celebrating with Rondale Moore over on the side, like, hey guys, look at me. When they were talking about his touchdown, it was like, wrong
Yep.
picture, guys. It made me laugh so hard. Anyway, that came off of busted coverage. So is that going to happen every single time? Is he going to have to rely on someone falling down in order for him to have a huge play? I'm not quite sure, but I do believe in the talent that is Rondale Moore. I think Henry Ruggs is someone that could be more productive by a hair than Rondale Moore. But I'm talking a baby fine, thin hair here between the two of them, literally.
What is your, how do you describe it?
Splitting hairs with a hatchet.
Splitting hairs with a hatchet. That's what I like to see. By the way, this just came across. The Browns have placed Jarvis Landry on injured reserve with an MCL sprain. So that's 3 games minimum that he's going to miss here. Not crazy surprising. They said he was going to miss 2 to 4 games, but everybody should be aware of that now that Landry is out here. Obviously, we don't know whether or not Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be able to return this weekend, but hopefully, and if not, I mean, I guess you're just going to see tight ends all day, 4 days with that offense. And of course, a lot of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I mean, the thing about Moore, just to go back, I agree with you, Ruggs looks great. And remember, this regime drafted Ruggs first, right? Like he was the guy. They passed on Jefferson. They passed on Judy. They wanted Ruggs. I wish they would use him in a little more short area targets and let him take it to the house. And he caught the bomb on this last one. A great play by Carr, great route. So if he's going to do that, that's fantastic. But I would love to use him a little more like Moore can do, which is after the catch ability. Now, you mentioned the targets. I mean, the thing is, Moore has 13 targets in the 2 games. Like that, this is not somebody who's just kind of like, oh, you take a fluke play to the house. It does take a little bit, looks a little bit fluky to me, but I think that's what he is. I think he's able to sort of do these crazy things. So for me as a guy, I think probably I will have Ruggs ranked a little higher this week.
Yeah, but
so I think it's fine if you talk about that, right? In terms of immediate need. I think I'm okay with that.
Immediate need. Really, it's baby fine. Baby fine hairs with hatchets.
And I think that Ruggs is a priority pickup for any wide receiver needy team. I wonder, do you like, out of curiosity, because I do get this question a lot, people like Bryan Edwards, he's been involved. People like Hunter Renfrow. Basically, everybody wants a piece of the Las Vegas offense now, right? That's like the new thing, which is crazy that all of a sudden the Las Vegas offense is like where you go to hit up offense right now. But do you like those guys if they're available as well?
Hunter Renfrow is kind of like the Cole Beasley here in this offense, I feel, so I don't hate it. Bryan Edwards, I was never really sure of the hype in the offseason, and then heading into the season, he still really hasn't done it for me. He was, I think, 3 for 3. It was just like, for me, this is going to be Henry Ruggs as your home run hit. Understand it could be boom or bust, but I do like the fact that he saw 7 targets. And then if you can't get a hold of Ruggs, but you still want to have a piece of that offense, I would go to Hunter Renfrow. And then after that, I would avoid.
Okay, so we got a couple of questions coming in. You obviously mentioned Cordero Patterson. How much fab would you spend on him from Matt Bowman? Let's say you have $100 budget, or what percentage of your fab, whatever, however you want to describe it, on Cordero Patterson, assuming that you're running back needy.
Assuming you're running back needy, it's also going to depend on how aggressive your league is. So if you're kind of like pretty aggressive, I don't really love Cordell Patterson long term. This is for short term. So I would not go over the top with your fab, maybe like 5%, maybe max. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, I don't know how many people are going to be going after Cordero Patterson. They might because of this after this week. Man, I don't know. That's a tough one. I wouldn't spend too much. Dan, what do you think? Do you have a percentage here on the top of your head?
I think we do a waiver wire article every week and we put in the amount, percentage of fab. This is a 5%er to me. And I don't really think that anybody is worth a crazy amount other than like Moore. For me, again, I like Ruggs as well. I just have a little more faith in Moore's long-term viability here. So Moore is the only guy who's worth it. That's like maybe 15 to 20% if you need a wide receiver. Other than that, I don't know about you, Lauren. This strikes me as a week where I'm probably not spending more than 10% on anybody, and it's more like 5% for a lot of these guys. Do you think that's fair?
I think that's fair. 5 to 7% if we really want to get persnickety on like an exact number. But it wasn't like last week where it was like a must add as Elijah Mitchell. The only other one here, I don't know if we're going to bring this up later. Jumping the gun, my bad.
That's
But
all right.
one, if you are not running back needy, but you want to be a little bit proactive, see if Alexander Madison is available
Yes.
because that was a situation for Cook managers. My goodness, it was like, he's down. Oh, phew, he's back in. Oh my God, he's limping. Oh, phew, he's back in. Like drama, like all over the place. It was crazy. So that's something to keep an eye on because if a limited Dalvin Cook or an out Dalvin Cook means Alexander Madison.
So Madison is my number one running back, and I know we're a little all over the place. We'll get him down like in our specific order, and I'll answer a
Billy,
couple of your
though, I kind
questions.
of like being all over the place. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I think that that's fair. I like it. There's no need for us to follow a script. We'll go
There's
crazy. But
rules.
I will say that Alexander Madison, I don't understand this, Lauren. To me, Alexander Madison should be rostered in basically 100% of leagues because
Yes.
Dalvin Cook, right? He has not played a full season here in the last, couple of years. Now he doesn't miss a ton of time, but he's missed a couple of games. And I think maybe because Madison disappointed last year when he got the role that perhaps fantasy managers are a little gun shy on him, but he is rostered in just 30.8% of leagues. That's nonsensical to me. He
Mm.
should be rostered in pretty much every single league. So he's Rondell Moore for me just on the week is my number one waiver wire ad, but Alexander Madison is my number two. And unless you are absolutely desperate for someone this week, and really maybe even if you are desperate, because as you mentioned, Cook is already banged up. We don't really
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah,
even though he
true.
came in and out of that game, he might be someone you start right now. I would pass on someone like Patterson and McKissick in favor of Madison just because I think the long-term upside is way more for me.
I can definitely see the draw for that for sure. But I think just I'm a little gun shy about Alexander Madison as well
Mm-hmm.
because he was so inefficient and unproductive when he had the opportunity last year. But that wasn't very often. We didn't. I think we need to kind of give him a second chance. But I don't know if he's going to be starting. I don't know if he's going to be in the game. Whereas with Patterson, I know he's going to be on the field. So that's the only reason why I would give a slight lean towards Patterson in that respect. But he still should be rostered. So if you have the availability, if you have the opportunity, I would snag him up.
Yep. So a couple of things just before we keep going and lay everything out. Number one, we've got a couple of questions as to who to drop, and we've got a lot of questions about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which
Oh boy.
obviously not a waiver wire thing, but we will get to them. I promise. We'll get to them in a little bit, probably more in the second half. But hang on, if you want your Clyde Edwards-Helaire questions answered, we got your back. If you're watching this, give us a like on the video, really helps us out. And if you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, which I don't think you can ask a question in the chat, which we are monitoring, we are taking care of it. You have to subscribe to be able to ask a question in the chat. Just subscribe here. We've got 120,000 people who are subscribed. So if you're watching this, hopefully you're enjoying it. Really helps us out when you give us a subscription. So a couple of people asking here, Lauren, about adding Cordero Patterson. Would you drop from DJ21? Would you drop Gainwell to add Cordero Patterson?
Ooh, this is tough because is Miles Sanders a little beat up? Did I see that correctly?
I don't know whether or not I think he's always a little beat up, but I don't think
Yeah,
he's in
true.
any danger of missing any time or anything like that.
You know what? This one's tough for me. I might stick with Gainwell. I might stick with Gainwell here because I think long term, Gainwell is going to be a little bit more useful than Cordero Patterson would be, but it's a close one for me, but I would stick with Gainwell.
Okay, how about if you need a wide receiver? Some people are asking, Larry Campbell, should you burn your number one waiver priority on Rondell Moore? If you're not specifically wide receiver needy, like you can start guys right now, do you think it's worth burning your number one waiver priority still on Rondell Moore?
You know what? There is an argument to be made here that says yes, and the reason why is for trade value. So if you are not wide receiver needy, but you have a wide receiver that is going to blow up, you have and already has blown up. You have the opportunity to have some very intriguing trade value. So I don't hate that at all.
How about would you drop from Ryan Bressler? Would you drop Tony Jones Jr. for Cordero Patterson?
I hate this so much, but yes, I would. I would only because this is Kamara's backfield, and I like Tony Jones as an insurance policy. And Cordell Patterson is someone that you can start now, whereas Tony Jones is kind of a pick up or hold on to and stash. So if you need somebody that you need to start, for me, this here is going to lean Patterson, but that's short term. So make sure you have your needs for your team well figured out, because if you don't have to start him, I would stay away from it. But if you do have to start him, then I would go ahead and make that move.
Okay, so let's talk about a couple of other, and I think this is a wide receiver week, Lauren. Like we're talking about Cordero Patterson, right?
Right,
Like
exactly.
that's like our exciting running back,
Woo!
woo, not the best week here for running backs, but there are a lot of intriguing wide receivers. We have talked about Henry Ruggs, we have talked about Rondell Moore. Let me throw out three other names for you, and I want to know what your opinion is on each
Mhm.
of these guys. Number one is a guy we talked about last week, which is Tim Patrick. Had another solid game here, and Jerry Jeudy is out. They get the Jets this weekend. You've got Darnell Mooney, who led the Bears in targets and receptions this past weekend, and now should have Justin Fields throwing him the ball as opposed to Andy Dalton for at least a few weeks going forward. And Jalen Reagor, who didn't have a huge game here against the 49ers, did have a big week one, nearly scored a touchdown. They found out that he had stepped out. So, three guys here. A lot of fantasy managers are looking at them. Rank those three and then kind of break down how you feel about them.
All right. I'm going to rank these in terms of, oh gosh, I don't even know if I can do that. Okay. Darnell, no, I hate this. Okay, this is a horrible
They're all
game,
close. They're
but
all
I'm going to
close.
do it. Hold on. I got to get myself prepared here. Okay. All right. Tim Patrick,
Okay.
uh, Darnell Mooney, and Jalen Reagor, and let me explain why. The Tim Patrick one is I want to call this safety with upside. He did get into the end zone. I understand his targets weren't as high as they were in week one. That's because Cortland Sutton, hi, welcome back. I've missed you. He had a fantastic game. I wonder if those targets will even out just a little bit as we move forward, because Teddy Bridgewater does trust him, and he trusts him around the end zone, which I do like as well. So Tim Patrick is one of those I really do like adding, because I think he can be a solid piece for your lineup, whether you need depth or you need someone to spot start when it's matchup dependent. If it's not matchup dependent, I like him. Darnell
Yeah.
Mooney is another one of those where I don't exactly know how that Bears offense is going to go moving forward. This is a rookie quarterback. We haven't seen him for a full game. So I'm a little wary, but I'm not averse, if that makes any sense. And then with
Mm-hmm.
the Jalen Reagor, I love this ad. He could have had a huge game, but I feel that Jalen Reagor is going to be a little bit more boom or bust and not as consistent for you. So each of these guys has their own unique thing they can bring to the table. It is really going to depend on what your team needs are. If you need someone, a wide receiver that you can start in either as a wide receiver 3 or as a flex, I think you might want to lead a little Tim Patrick, even though it's on the conservative side. And if you want to have someone that's your home run hitter, I think that might be Darnell Mooney for you if we can have a little bit more consistency with the Bears offense. I think even the higher swing and a miss or boom bust here is going to be Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of echo pretty much everything you said. I have them also in that order. So I am going with you there. I agree. Tim Patrick is just kind of like that safe guy that I feel like you can start. Maybe he kind of lacks the upside a little bit. There's a lot with Darnell Mooney. I'm excited. I'd like to add him if I
Mm-hmm.
could, but I'm not like going out there and running to knock people out of the way to make sure I get him, because I think there are still going to be growing pains. And Rager is fine. Like he's an okay ad. I'm not dying to do it, but I think he can help your fantasy team. So let me just I'll name 5 or 6 more guys. Okay. Guys, I've gotten questions over. You tell me if you don't have to rank them. Just tell me if you have interest in adding them. Okay.
I'm ready.
Devontae Parker, who obviously has kind of stepped up with Will Fuller out. Now, Fuller's back at the facility right now. I don't know whether or not he's going to play because we don't really know what was going on. But obviously, Parker has been relatively productive. And of course, you have the quarterback concerns. Emmanuel Sanders been fine each of the past 2 weeks. Nothing to write home about, but certainly involved. Terrace Marshall Jr., again, sort of similar, not going crazy right now, but he's clearly a part of the game plan in some sense in Carolina. Hunter Renfrow, not as good as Henry Ruggs, but certainly more involved, I think, than I expected. KJ Osborne, 2 giant games to start off, the third in that pecking order. Elijah Moore, signs of life, actually involved despite the Jets' horrific offense. Much better in week 2 than week 1. And AJ Green, who, caught a touchdown, didn't have the greatest game other than that, but certainly was involved in an offense that looks high flying. And last one, Zach Pascal, a guy, again, caught 3 touchdowns in the first 2 games. Without T.Y. Hilton, he's at least getting involved, even if he's second fiddle to Michael Pittman Jr. So if you need those names again, I will give them to you, but any of them strike you as somebody worth adding?
Yes, I may need a few of them again. Zach
Yeah.
Pascal, I
Mm-hmm.
want to put a caveat here because I've been beating the drum for him. This is going to be dependent on Carson Wentz's health. Jacob Eason is not Carson Wentz. I'm terrified of Jacob Eason, to be totally honest. I think the only person that could benefit from this is Michael Pittman, maybe because he has that huge arm, but he's not good. That's why he was third in the order. But Sam Ellinger has a hip injury or a knee sprain or something that he is preventing him from taking over. So it's Jacob Eason. Gross. I really want to avoid that. If you have Pascal already, hang on to him. It should be fine. What was the other one too? I had them all, and then I was
That's what
excited.
I know.
KJ
I just,
Osborne. KJ
yes.
Osborne. He's the one. I think he is a sneaky pickup because he has seen double-digit targets now, and this is over only 2 weeks with the superstars of Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson on the field, and yet Kirk Cousins is looking for him, and he's seeing those targets, and his efficiency is fantastic. His catch rate was 70% week 1. It was above 80% last week. He got a touchdown. This is very exciting for me. I like what he is doing and carving out a role for himself. So KJ Osborne is someone I wouldn't mind adding, but he's also a player that you might be able to pick up for free after waivers have run, because I don't know how many people are rushing to the waiver wire to pick him up unless you're in super deep leagues. Emmanuel Sanders, I'm kind of meh. Hunter Renfrow, I don't mind because he gets so many targets. It to me that pecking order is going to be up play Henry Ruggs, and then Hunter Renfrow for the target safety, and then Brian Edwards is just everyone's favorite player for the Raiders for some reason. But this is literally Darren Waller's show, so just understand that.
All right,
Did I
let's
miss
talk.
someone? Did I
No,
miss someone?
I listed 35. Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker.
Parker, no, I'm staying away because we're either going to have a hurt Tua, who's not going to be able to throw very much, or we're going to have Jake Brisket, also known as Jacoby Brissett. Don't like that either.
All right, let's go to running back here. We've talked about Madison, who that's my number one guy. Yours is probably Patterson if you need somebody immediately. I think
Immediately.
Patterson, McKissick, viable pickups. I'll name a couple other guys. These guys are all rostered in less than 55% of leagues. So you got Kenneth Gainwell, who we touched on earlier. He actually is available in most leagues. He's only rostered in 32.5%. Zach Moss, active, scored 2 touchdowns, both pretty much in garbage time. There's a thumbs down for you at 53.4%. Peyton Barber, apparently your lead running back for the Las Vegas Raiders. That's the correct
Why are
thumb
we
down.
talking
Thumbs
about the
down.
Raiders? Like,
It's all Raiders all the
It's all
time on
Raiders.
this show. This is where we are. You've got Derek Carr, who's going to just be like, I'm throwing for 450 yards a game. We're going to talk about the Raiders.
I
That's
know.
really it. That's really
Uh,
it. I mean, at this point, Ty Johnson. So, do you want Gainwell if he's available then for you, or Moss or anything?
I think Gainwell is a good pickup. Zach Moss, no. No, don't do it. Don't fall for the trap. I 100% understand that when you see those touchdowns, there were 2. It's like, wow, he had 8 carries, people, for 26 yards. Those numbers are not sustainable. So for me, that is, I don't want to deal with that headache. I don't want to deal with that drama. If you have Zach Moss, trade him away.
Okay,
Get rid
I
of him.
agree with that. There's no reason to have Zach Moss. It would just be so much easier because Devin Singletary's actually looked good.
Yeah.
So if we could just get rid of Moss, and I was a Moss guy last year, but at this point, I can't imagine picking him up. Let's talk about quarterbacks. Let's talk about tight ends very quickly, defenses before we take a bunch of questions. You've got Derek Carr, as again, it's the Raiders show. Carr has been great so far. He's banged up a little bit with the ankle injury, but 2 tough matchups, Baltimore and Pittsburgh, and he has succeeded in both.
Yes.
Daniel Jones running for his absolute life, gets Atlanta right now. Teddy Bridgewater playing well, gets the Jets. You've got Sam Darnold playing well against Houston. Taylor Heineke obviously had a big game. So any of those guys, I mean, let's talk single quarterback leagues because in 2 quarterback leagues or super flex, you're interested in all of them. Single quarterback leagues, are any of them worth a pickup?
Well, we've already talked about Derek Carr, so he's going to be an obvious one here. But
Yep.
I feel like Derek Carr has done this to me many years in a row. So this is going to be a fool me thrice situation if he ends up tanking, which I'm really afraid of. But the numbers don't say that. That's just my worry as myself that has seen this happen before. But still, you can't really deny the kind of chemistry that's going on with the Raiders. So I do like Derek Carr. Out of all of those, I really like Daniel Jones. He's another one that has
Oh
been
yeah.
getting it done. It sounds kind of barfy when you say it out loud, but Daniel Jones, man, in single quarterback leagues, if you need someone to stream, I think he's an opportunity here. He has the opportunity again, like you said, facing Atlanta. So hey,
Yep.
let's go. And Teddy Bridgewater. First of all, that's awesome. Just because Teddy Bridgewater is so cool, but we're beating up Tim Patrick, not beating up. We're beating up for Tim Patrick. I would say we're beating him up,
Yeah.
and that comes from a quarterback that throws him the ball. And Cortland Sutton is back, so yes, I like Teddy Bridgewater as well.
I'm in agreement. Those are my top three. It's great to see the Giants at least sort of using what Daniel Jones does best, which is his rushing ability, to make him a viable quarterback. And again, he does have the pass catchers. Right now, tight end, it's barren this week, Lauren. So I don't really know if any of these guys is worth, any sort of look. Austin Hooper, who, again, they're just down so many receivers at this point. They take on Chicago. Juwan Johnson didn't really follow up on his big first game against the Patriots. Pat Fryermuth, kind of ascending in Pittsburgh, but still there's a long way to go. Dawson Knox, Jack Doyle, Max Williams had a huge game, but certainly not something that I think most fantasy managers think is sustainable. Are you picking up any of those guys?
I am all about that Max Williams life.
Oh,
I
you love
don't
it.
care. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And the reason why I do this for fun, everybody. So if you actually are really needy at tight end, this may not be the best option. But if you have the opportunity to stash this guy, I really liked his target share. It was 7 targets in this game. He was incredibly productive with those, which was awesome. Tons of yards. I think he had nearly 100 yards. It was 94, which is really good. And this is on an offense that is exploding with players like DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore. I understand that should be a knock on him, but it's not. He did very well. So I am very interested to see if that game was a trend or a fluke. I've been saying that a lot today when it comes to these waivers because I want to have that piece in case it is not just a fluke. Another name I will bring up because you brought up Austin Hooper. He's a very
Yep.
popular tight end who may not be rostered. Another name to look for here is David Njoku.
Mm-hmm.
Baker Mayfield has been looking at him. He is not rostered in nearly as many leagues as Austin Hooper is. And with Jarvis Landry out and all these questionable tags around Odell Beckham Jr., David Njoku could be a guy if you're desperate.
It's a great call. I think he led the Browns in receiving. I could be making that up at this point. Everything is jumbled in my head at the very moment.
Me too.
But yeah,
Like, what
he
is
had a
my
good day.
name? Who are you? Where
I
am
don't
I?
know, but it's nice to see you, and we'll talk about waiver wires, whoever
Hey.
you are. Thank you for joining me today. Yeah, no, I agree. Isn't the best week for tight ends, but
No.
there are enough out there right now where I feel like probably everybody has just kind of a like, all right, I can start Jonnu or whatever, like somebody who gives you. Honestly, again, at this point, if you put up like 60 yards, you're basically like an easy tight end one. So
Could you
whatever you can
imagine
get.
how could you imagine how cool you would be in your league if Max Williams ends up blowing up to be like the next George Kittle or something?
I
Not that I'm
mean, there
saying
you
he
go.
is, don't quote me, but how fun would that be? Come on. Plus, it makes Kyler Murray even better too to have a big bodied tight end who looked like a bruiser on the
Yeah,
field. He was a mount. I didn't realize how big he was. Like he has 2 X's in his name for
that's right.
Maximus. I'm
Right.
just saying. Wow,
I
I'm on
mean,
fire today.
if you spell your name Max with 2 X's, you're just a boss. I'm gonna start
Yeah.
spelling my name. Our video producer, our senior video producer, Chris is monitoring. Chris, next time, can you do me a favor and spell Dan Harris DANN? Because I feel like you add the extra letter at the end of your name, you're just a boss. So I'm gonna be doing
Just
that.
do DANXX, but the X's are silent.
Oh, I get X's. That's cool. I'm fine. All right, very quickly, let's talk about defenses because people need to stream. You've got
Yes.
the Panthers here on Thursday night going up against the Texans, and it's going to be Davis Mills under center,
Yep.
and that is not going to be good for anybody. You also have the Cardinals who have a pass rush, give a lot of points, but they go against Jacksonville, which is just, I mean, I'm a fan of a dumpster fire team in the Jets. That's
I
a
like
real
dumpster tires,
That's a
though.
dumpster tire. Yeah, there you go. I'm a dumpster tire. That one is a dumpster fire. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible with the Jaguars. And then you've got the Raiders against Miami, who might be
Yes.
Jacoby Brissett. And you've got the Giants against Atlanta, who just basically bleed points to opposing defenses. So which one of these are you picking up?
I like all of those. My favorite one out of this is get Raiders again. It's going to be Las Vegas. Apparently,
Oh
I need to
man.
go to Sin City and just get this out of my system. But yeah, it's kind of hard to pass up on that when you're talking about Miami here, and it's hard because even with an injured Tua, it's still not going to be as good. So I think Vegas has a chance to score some points here for you on defense. But one team that you didn't mention that I really am looking at as well is Tennessee because they're playing the Colts.
Yep.
And like I mentioned before, if it's not Carson Wentz, and even if it's an injured Carson Wentz, I like what Tennessee can do. I know they won a game in Seattle. It's been kind of barfy for them recently, but they're going to turn that ship around, I do believe. And Tennessee's defense is decent, but this is their chance, especially against Jake Eason, to really make a statement. And I like that one too. And I believe they are only like 3% rostered. So they
Yep.
should be available on the waiver wire to stream this week for sure. But Carolina, hi. I have been remiss in my fantasy analyst diligence to not give you enough respect
Yep.
on your name because you have been a buzz saw in the NFL so far. Well done. Well done. So Panthers might be a sneaky stash meaning you can keep them for several weeks.
Yeah, the defense looks pretty legit. And again,
Yeah.
it hasn't been the toughest matchups or anything like that, but I do think this is something you pick them up. They're the priority for me
I
because
mean,
you
New
are,
Orleans was no joke. I mean, New Orleans
yeah,
wasn't, some to sneeze at. Granted, there were some off-field issues that they're dealing with the, assistant coaches with COVID, and then obviously everything that happened with Hurricane Ida. But
sure.
look what Jameis Winston was able to do in Week 1, and he could not pass at
Yeah,
all. 2 interceptions. He ended up having to rush one in, but oh well. I mean, the Panthers really put a kibosh on Alvin Kamara. That's hard to
yeah,
do.
it's
Very
true.
hard to do.
That is true. They are playing very well on both sides of the ball right now. So, yeah, there's somebody who I pick up immediately, certainly, and you start
Yes.
them. They're going to be a top 5 defense this
Yes.
week, and it's a Thursday. So make sure you put them in your claims. All right, Lauren, questions are just abundant. Are
Oh,
you ready to get into
yay.
it?
My favorite.
Wonderful.
Thank you, everyone, so much for asking
It
questions.
is. So many people. How many people are here right
I
now?
love
We
it.
have almost 1,600 people here watching. If you are
Oh,
watching and you
hi,
have not yet
everybody.
liked the video, please do so. If you are watching this and you are not a subscriber, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Helps us out, honestly. Like if you at all appreciate the content and we have a ton of things going on, it just helps us out to add on another subscriber to let us know that you like what we're doing so that we keep doing it. Let's get to it. Ben Vargas asks, I assume rest of season. Oh yeah, it is rest of season. Tyson Williams or Elijah Mitchell for the 49ers?
Can we say the same for both of them? I'm gonna lean a little bit Elijah Mitchell here. They also added Jack Patrick,
Yes.
Patrice, whatever. They also were speculatively adding TJ Yeldon, Lamar Miller, Duke Johnson. These are a
Yeah.
lot of different names, and the only constant we have going here is Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah.
So I think I might go with Elijah Mitchell here by a hair.
I'm hopeful that Elijah Mitchell is healthy. He left, obviously, as they all did. He left last game with a shoulder injury. It looked like a stinger. My guess is he's going to play. I think I'd still prefer, just because of the uncertainty with Mitchell, I'd probably prefer Tyson Williams just
But
a
see,
little bit
Lamar
because
Jackson runs too. So
he
that's the
does.
only
He does. And
Trey Lance and
Latavius Murray.
Garoppolo,
And
that's
Latavius Murray.
the only
So,
reason.
yeah.
Gives me
No, I'm
heartache.
with you. I'm with you. I will probably go with him. Ricardo, what is going on with these so-called wide receiver ones? I'm tempted to bench A.J. Brown for either Pittman or Rondell Moore, are either
Oh,
considered a wide receiver one in your book.
okay. I totally feel this, right? Because AJ Brown, like terribly. I mean, I can't even speak. It was so upsetting
Yep.
in his matchup because I think he only had 2 receptions or 2 or 3 receptions on 9
3, I think.
targets,
Yeah.
and like they were in his hands. You
Yep.
can't get any better, and that is
Yep.
not like AJ Brown. So pump the brakes on freaking out just yet. Everything's okay. I hope. I am not going to be benching AJ Brown. The upside that he has is just way too much. As much as you might want to rage bench him, I would just wait. I have a feeling that they're going to do very well this week. So give him one more chance. It just was
Uh,
not like him to miss that.
Brown's fine.
Those,
Like he had a bad game.
those.
Like I get it. He had a bad game. Like
It was
no, you're not.
heartbreaking.
It was bad. It was bad. There were, and again, I won't say that it was entirely easy catches or anything, but they are catches that AJ Brown makes. He had a bad game.
Yes.
It's okay. Ignore all the rest. From Daniel Mahoney, would you trade Rondell Moore for Devontae Smith?
No, I think I would. Unless are you keeping Rondale Moore? Because I would keep Rondale Moore here. I give this slight nod to the quarterback position because I love Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray are kind of two peas in a little pod right there. But I
Yeah.
think I would rather have Rondale Moore.
Okay, I think I will take Devontae Smith. I know he had a bad game. I like Rondell Moore. I love him. I hate to say anything that's not choosing Rondell Moore, but I do think that Smith is probably a better lock to have week to week value. How about
Good point.
Inglorious P? How do you feel about picking up Sony Michelle or Devin Singletary if they're available in your league?
Devin Singletary, yes. Sony Michelle, no.
Okay. I am probably adding both of them just because I know Henderson has the rib cartilage injury, and so we don't know whether or not he's going to go. Now they play the Bucks this week. It's just not a week that you want to start Sony Michelle. So
Yeah.
chances are that Henderson will probably be ready to go by the
Mhm.
time we get to week 4, and then Michelle goes up. But Michelle is kind of a high end handcuff option at this point, or insurance policy, because of the fact that the running back in that offense is going to have success, and so I probably am adding both of them. But I
Go for
probably would.
Jake Funk. Go for Jake Funk and
You
just
like Jake Funk?
forget about Sony Michelle. He has injury issues as well, and he runs like he's a monster elephant trying to like bust through people like Raheem Mostert does. I don't know. I don't have any faith in Sony Michelle. None.
Okay. Would you, from Joseph Seri, would you drop T. Higgins, yikes, and Corey Davis for Marquise Brown and Rondell Moore?
No. No, I would not do
Correct.
that. I would
Neither
not do
one.
that.
Stop
Nope.
it. Stop going crazy. Everything's fine. Don't overreact. From Felipe Perez, are DJ Chark or Kenny Galladay droppable?
Ouch. No, I do not believe that they are droppable because Chark and Galladay, again, they're kind of a, similar type of situation here. Um, deeper play. Galladay is the contested catch guy from Daniel Jones. There is no other way around it. And I really like Galladay. And Chark is incredibly impressive. I understand that, we were talking about a rookie quarterback, 100% get it. But the upside that those two bring you is, I think, more than you're going to be able to scrape off of the waiver wire rest of season. So I would hang on to those guys. Give them a little bit more time.
All right, two players who fantasy managers are concerned about. Ryan Miles says, "Are you concerned about Mark Andrews?" And Noah B says, "Should I be concerned about Alvin Kamara?"
Alvin Kamara, no, don't worry about it. That was just a really weird game. And Mark Andrews, yeah, you should have known. I say this like I'm sounding so arrogant right now. Like, you should have known going into 2021. That's not how I mean it. But Mark Andrews, I call it, I guess, regression here. But this has kind of been a trend going on with Mark Andrews. He was going very high in drafts, and I think he was being overdrafted because of what we had expected for him based on past performances. But he is going to have really big games, and he is going to have really, really crappy games too. This is what comes of a guy like Mark Andrews in an offense like the Baltimore Ravens. So concern, yes, but not droppable. If you can, wait till he has a really good game and see if you can package him in a deal and trade him away.
What about Pokemaniac S? Is Marquez Callaway droppable?
I think he is if you are desperate for someone who is going to give you fantasy points on a week to week basis, even though they may not have the upside, but you need a warm body there that's going to give you points. If you don't have to drop him, then I wouldn't because Jameis Winston does like him. He just had a really, really bad game week 2, but he is droppable if you need someone that you need to play now.
From Brooks, would you drop LaVisca Chenault for KJ Osborne?
Ouch. Okay. I'm gonna be spicy here. I'm gonna be spicy, and I'm gonna say go for it. I'm gonna say go for it. Drop Lavisca, pick up KJ Osborne. Oh, I can't believe I just said that out loud. I'm so caliente.
I think I mean, look, Osborne has been, on fire, and they need that third receiving option. I mean, Dalvin Cook, fine. I mean, take him out of the equation. You've got Thielen, you've got Jefferson. It used to be Irv Smith Jr. They need somebody to replace that. That right now looks like KJ Osborne. I don't think it's
And
going to
it's
be
not Chris Herndon, the
No,
replacement tight
no,
ends.
no.
So
I don't think it's gonna be like this rest of season, but I do think there are gonna be plenty of good matchups. We are getting a ton of questions, you guys, about George Kittle, Lauren. I mean, some people are
yes.
saying, do you prefer Pitts to Kittle? Do you think that Kittle has major problems? What do I do with him? So just generally speaking,
Okay.
slow start for George Kittle. Thoughts?
Okay, slow start for George Kittle because if everybody understands Kittle's history, it is, I don't want to say injury prone, but it is injuries. He has had them. Now, the San Francisco 49ers really struggled with injuries last year. So, what they are doing with George Kittle is not great for fantasy, but it's very smart for real football. So, they are going to limit him because I know his snaps have been reduced, I believe 20% or just about 20%, whereas previous seasons it's been 20% or more. I get it. We have an extended season going on right now. You're going to really, really, really need George Kittle when it comes to closer to the playoffs and when you're in the playoffs. So don't freak out just yet. forget about George Kittle. Just understand he is going to be limited in that capacity so that the 49ers can have him healthy down the stretch. Make sure you have other options on your roster that are the home run hits, like we talked about, the Rondale Moores, the Henry Ruggs, that can give you high upside in case Kittle does not have a great game.
I just have no problem with George Kittle. Like, it's 2 weeks, guys. Like,
Yeah, don't
give me a
worry.
break. We know what this is. Like, I don't really care that much. He's
Yeah.
going to be fine. Like, yes. Am I happy that in the end, after vacillating all sort of draft season,
Oh,
I ultimately
oh, check.
decided to, yeah. Oh,
Vacillate.
so sorry. Yes. Joe loves when I use words that I don't actually
I know.
understand, and I just throw them in there.
It
But
was great.
I wound up having Waller as my tight end 2 and Kittle as my tight end 3. I'm glad about that right now because it seems like a very easy decision. But I
Is
still
this
have
in
Kittle.
Dynasty?
No, this is this season. Waller as tight end 2. I mean, they were right there. I project them almost identically, but that was sort of a big discussion over who
Oh,
you
wait. So
take.
you don't have them on your team?
No, no, no. I'm sorry.
My
I
bad.
when
I
I
was like,
ranked
was this an
when I ranked.
eight-person
No, no,
team
no,
league
no.
or
I
something? Like,
don't.
what?
Although you could have gone crazy. You could have gone crazy. So that's it. But other than that, like, really relax, guys. He's
Yeah.
going to be absolutely fine. Chill out. It's a bad start, but it's also a bad start for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and we're getting a
Yes.
million questions about him. And basically, some people are saying this is overreaction nonsense, but I'm going to point out because people are saying, do we drop him? Do you sell him while his value is still like not completely tanked because of his draft capital, or do you just ride this out?
Okay. Ride this out, all right, because I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that this is not the death knell for CEH, okay? I'm going to say this a lot and I'm going to say it all season long. We have an extended season going on right now and the last thing you want to do is literally run your dude into the ground. I understand that Clyde Edwards-Helaire doesn't necessarily have that same issue because he did see a lot of time, he saw a lot of volume, but he was not productive with it. Give him some time. This is his second year. It was a weird game between the Ravens and the Chiefs. I almost said the Patriots. That was very, very weird because I thought Patrick Mahomes, so the PAT was in my head.
I'm
Oh
with
my
you.
gosh, I'm already fried. But game script has been weird for them too, and that fumble was very uncharacteristic. He has to play better. So I understand that you're frustrated. 100% now is not the time to sell him because his value is nowhere near where it should be. So if you are in a state of mind where you just want to get rid of him and you don't want to deal with that drama, wait until he has a good game, not relying on draft capital in order to give him value because he's worth a lot more than just, oh, well, he was supposed to be good. Hang on to him. He may surprise you. Just give him a little bit of time.
Yeah. You need to just relax a little bit
Mm-hmm.
with it, in my opinion. Anyway, there are better days ahead, and you can't sell
Yes.
low. It makes no sense.
Makes
Ride
no
it out.
sense.
There will be better days. How about Tony Pollard? Heavily involved right now. A lot of questions about Pollard. I guess he's available in a lot of leagues, which is great. If he's available, number one, would he be your top waiver wire pickup if he's available in your league?
I am glad you brought this up because, yes, without a shadow of a doubt, if Tony Pollard is somehow available, spraying your thumb, hitting accept. Go ahead and I would put a lot of fab in on this because I believe that strongly in Tony Pollard and it passes the eyeball test here, not only the numbers test. He and Ezekiel Elliott had very similar numbers, and Zeke is sure he's the one that's getting the goal line work per se, but Tony Pollard is too. He looks better than Zeke. He
Yep.
plays better than Zeke right now. The offense plays better when he's on the field. And even if Zeke doesn't have like a 30-point game or whatever, Zeke still got double digits. So did Tony Pollard. So you have this situation very similar to what we have in Detroit, where Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift are both productive backs being used. And that is exactly what we have here for the Cowboys. And I really, really love Tony Pollard because they're not quitting him, which I really like. So both people may be freaking out about Zeke. Calm down. I think things are going to trend in the right direction eventually, but this is about sustainability for these backs, guys, with a really, really long season. Well, one extra week, but it feels really long.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you have to pick up. If Pollard were available, he would be my number one pickup for sure because
Unlikely, but yeah.
he's look, you're getting a lot of questions about it. So I think that if people are really kind of looking for him at this point, then he's got to be available in some leagues. So that's fine. I would pick him up. I don't know whether
Yes.
or not we're going to see this for the rest of the season necessarily. And again, even his snap count right now, it's not huge. He's just making so much of every one of his touches. But I do think he should be rostered regardless, sort of, if for no other reason than the high end insurance policy. But I do think he's a guy you can start in the flex for now, and then we'll
Yes.
see right? We'll see where things go later on. From Jay Laramie, should I try? Who I think also tried to propose to you earlier in the chat.
Oh,
Do
I'm
I?
married, but thank you.
She is married. Everybody chill out. Should I try to trade away Antonio Brown? He seems very boomer bust. Give me your thoughts, Lauren, on Antonio Brown going forward.
I don't hate the idea of wanting to trade Antonio Brown. However, this week is not the week to do it. You never ever ever want to trade a player when their value is at their lowest. So wait till Antonio Brown has another huge game and then go ahead and package him. Otherwise, you're not going to be getting nearly what he's worth in return.
I think the bottom line is that the continued ascension of Rob Gronkowski means that someone on that team is not going to go off in any given week, whether it's going to be Evans one week, whether it's going to be Godwin one week, whether it's going to be Gronk one week, or whether it's going to be Brown. And you're just going to have to accept that that's kind of what it is. And look,
Mm-hmm.
there is no wide receiver really out there. We even saw Tyreek Hill had a down game. Devonta Adams kind of had a down game in week one. So you're going to have down games from everybody, and I think it's okay. So I agree with you, Lauren, that if you are looking to trade Antonio Brown, don't do it right now. Do it
Right.
after a game where he goes nuts, and that will come soon. And then I wouldn't be worried about that. But other than that, I think realistically, it's just somebody who I would hold on to. Lots of questions coming in, Lauren, about Robbie Anderson and about
Oh, okay.
whether or not we should drop him. People are looking for like any wide, like if you can swap him right now for any wide receiver on the wire. That's asked from the dude, Dood. He wants to know, like, if you would you drop Robbie Anderson for somebody like Rondell Moore, anybody like that?
Okay, no, I would not. And the reason why is because Robbie Anderson is, he has his relationship already established with Sam Darnold. And I understand that there was a difference between Robbie Anderson of this year, Robbie Anderson of last year, and then Robbie Anderson of yesteryear when he was with the Jets. He is becoming more of that Robbie Anderson that we knew of from the Jets, which, if you, harken back to that time, he was boomer bust. That was his identity. He is the kind of a deep threat, deep kind of guy. He plays a little bit in the slot here and there, but that is what Robbie Anderson is. You do not have Robbie Anderson on your team to get max amount of fantasy points every single week. That's your DJ Moore's. Robbie Anderson is going to be for those stretch long past season all the way into your playoffs. That is where Robbie Anderson makes his hay. I would hang on to him and not freak out. Just understand that is Robbie Anderson's identity in this offense.
Yeah, I'm obviously disappointed about kind of what he has looked like early on in the year, but certainly we get a chance right now against Houston for him to have a bigger role, and I do
Yes.
think he's going to be a little more boomer bust necessarily coming up, but I still think that he will provide value. So I would not personally swap him out for any of these waiver wire wide receivers, but I understand why people are worrying about that. Talk about Trey Sermon for a second. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
inactive game one, buried in game two, finally comes in for a play, gets hit, and is now in the concussion protocol. When you're rostering Sermon, you're not doing it thinking that you've got a guy right now. You're thinking maybe a guy down the road. But a lot of people are saying, especially for these waiver wire, options, are you moving on from Trey Sermon?
This is really tough. I think he had some pretty serious injury concerns in college too, didn't he? Or am I making that up?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I
Yes, I
mean,
mean he's obviously that I for me it's a little bit more worrisome. Forget about the injuries. It's just that Shanahan seems to want nothing to do with him at all. Like,
that was gonna be my next point.
yeah,
This is very, very interesting that he was inactive in week one, and then when he was active, like you said, he was buried. That speaks a lot. It speaks volumes more than it does that he actually speaks, as in Kyle Shanahan. Actions speak louder than words. So for me, I would move on from Trey Sermon. Not all of these rookies hit right off the bat.
yeah. I think there's a chance that later on in the season you could be like, darn, this guy is really doing some good work. But I think for right now, I mean, you're in a tough position. You
Yeah.
gotta win. You gotta win early. And I think for that reason, I doubt Sermon's gonna play this week anyway. And even if he did, I wouldn't feel comfortable starting him. So, I think that I agree with you. You can move on. There's a lot of questions also about James Conner, obviously off to a slow start. Would you drop James Conner for somebody on the waiver wire right now?
Uh, um, no, because the talent at running back just takes a nosedive, and so someone like James Conner, who is going to be on the field, I don't have I can't do that. I'll keep hanging on to James Conner. Again, we're only 2 weeks in here. It has been high scoring games that the Cardinals have been a part of, and it just really hasn't been a James Conner type of game. Those games will come. And then if you really don't want to deal with James Conner, wait till he has a great game and then see if you can trade him away. But again, I cannot get rid of running backs when there are just so few to pick up.
I just don't think Connor can really be sitting out there on the wire because
You can't.
look, I'm not starting James Conner. I get it, and the goal line back for the Cardinals has been and probably is going to continue to be Kyler Murray, so that hurts him. But if something does happen to Chase Edmonds, and obviously Edmonds is not the biggest guy necessarily, and there's always an injury risk, then Connor becomes a must roster player. So you might
Yes.
as well have him now. All right, we're going to keep going here with some questions. Again, I will remind you, if you have not already, please like the video. That helps us out. If you are not subscribed, please do so. Again, we video all of our podcasts. We do videos each week. We do live streams Sunday morning. We answer questions all Sunday morning.
And also, if you want to be a part of Ask the Experts with my girl, Tara Roberts, and myself, we do a weekly Ask the Experts, but we cannot look at your questions. They are not eligible unless you are subscribed. So if you ask them on YouTube, you have to subscribe to YouTube in order for them to be answered. So if we don't get to your questions here, even though they will not be about Regals, they'll be about starts and sits, they'll be about anything that you want, you have to be subscribed. So there are multiple things that you can get out of being a subscriber.
Boom. I love it. Excellent plug. We've got like 1,000 questions. A couple of people I see. Schmizzy, Tim Smith, Danny O'Reilly. They all want to know about Tannehill. Off to a slow start here.
Don't worry.
That is correct. I love
Don't
it.
worry.
It just,
Don't worry.
yep.
You're good.
Yeah. I mean, look.
AJ Brown dropped almost all. I'm being sarcastic here. And that was very voluminous. I'm very sorry, producer. Oh my gosh, producer Chris must be like, what's going on with you, weirdo? But don't worry about it, okay? Don't worry. Chillax.
I have zero concerns with Ryan Tannehill. I think week one was very much of a COVID game in that they were behind, they hadn't gotten together necessarily in this whole preseason to sort of get their timing right. And then this last game, I mean, he threw for 350 yards. And if Julio Jones's back heel doesn't nip the, out of bounds marker, he's got a touchdown.
There was
right.
green.
I was annoyed at that as well. But
so mad.
I think you were very close to having a monstrous day from Tannehill. I have zero concerns. Zero concerns on him.
Don't worry.
How about Gronk here? We talked about him. Is this real? He's got 4 touchdowns, 2 games. Jacob Manu, which a lot of people are asking, do I trade Gronk high or do I just hold him?
Gronk smash. I think you should hold him. I mean, unless you are desperate and you have another tight end that you can play with confidence. But no, I think you hold him. This is not slowing down. Tom Brady is not slowing down. He's a vampire. He is Benjamin Button. He's aging backwards. This is garbage. Because as I'm getting gray, he's like, I don't eat bread and I'm beautiful. And it's stupid. But it doesn't matter because they're really good. They're really, really good. And they have a connection there. They threw, 100 touchdowns from Gronk from Brady now after that last weekend? 101? Yeah. I don't know. They're good. I would hang on to him.
I'm buying it.
I think he's legit.
I'm buying it. I'm buying the upswing. I don't care that I have to buy high. I think I moved him to tight end 6, maybe.
Did
on
it
the
feel
rest
weird? Because I feel like it would feel weird.
I don't like to do this at all. As much as I, as somebody who myself is a little bit old and broken down and left for dead, like I would love to see the redemption tour here with Rob Gronkowski. But I see no reason to doubt it. He looks fantastic. And again, we forget he was out of football, of course, and then came back and had this slow start and really got going at the second half. Now he's in shape and ready to go. And there's no reason to think that he can't continue to do this for the rest of the season. So I am buying this. I would buy high. I have zero concerns. How about Kyle Douglas says, would you buy low on Robert Woods? Off to a little bit of a slow start here.
I don't mind that either. Cooper Kupp is obviously going to be that darling for now, but Robert Woods also had a great game too. So it's not like he's completely uninvolved. He's there. It's just Cooper Kupp gets all those flashy ones. But yeah, I like Robert Woods for sure because not every single defense is going to be able to take both of those wide receivers out of the game. And it's very, very, very possible that Robert Woods is going to feast as well. And he provides a safe floor, I believe. So I believe in Robert Woods.
Definitely. I am, less excited now than I was in draft season, but that still leaves plenty of room to be excited about Robert Woods. I do think that there is a pretty big delta between him and Cooper Kupp now, unfortunately, but I still think that I'm willing to trust him as my wide receiver 2 going
Yes.
forward. A lot of questions about Antonio Gibson, which surprises me
Ooh.
a little bit. Just people are worried about him. Ryan Miles wants to know what our thoughts are. Some other people are saying they're concerned about him long term. Are you worried at all about Kyle Gibson? About Antonio Gibson? Sorry.
I'm gonna go back here to sustainability over an extended season. Okay, I understand like JD McSmooches, like he's the one that's getting all the looks from Taylor Heineke. This should not surprise anybody because Heineke is going to be the check down king. Kind of like YOLO Ryan Fitzpatrick is not in the game, so it won't be so for a very long time. If he plays the rest of the season, who knows? But Gibson, I am worried for the short term, but I'm not worried for the long term because Gibson has to stay healthy. He's the better back. That's obvious. But again, you don't want to get these guys hurt too early. I understand that it's troublesome. Stick with it. Things will get better for Gibson, especially as Heineke has a lot more time with this offense and grows in his own ability to do more than just check down. He's already done that we saw in week 2. So I have a positive outlook for Antonio Gibson, although I do understand the frustration.
Yeah, I guess I do, but I mean, for me, he's getting touches, and even in this Thursday night game, and I know he didn't get the goal line,
Yeah, that's
work
what
there,
everyone's
touchdown.
mad about.
Everybody's mad about that, but come on, if we knew he was going
He's
to get
not.
this, good,
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
yeah.
And do they really have him on there to be like the third down back? I mean, is that his role? Because I don't think that it is. It's going to be his volume, and it's going to be those things. So just hang in there. Like
Yeah.
he will have better games.
So I'm getting questions on 2 guys a lot. One is Sterling Shepard, who I guess is available still in leagues, and where would he
Pick him up.
rank? So start with that. Would he rank above Rondell Moore in your waiver rankings?
This is again, I like Sterling Shepard for the safety and the floor that he can provide because Daniel Jones, it's like his boo, his security blanket, and I like that for Sterling Shepard. But if you have someone like that, let's say you already have Tim Patrick, maybe you need someone that's going to be a home run hit here. Then I would probably go for a Rondale Moore. Just depends on your team needs, but it is really hard for me to pass up on Sterling Shepard if he's still available.
Yeah, I really like Sterling Shepard and what
Me
we're
too.
seeing from him right now. And again, he's basically a guy who gets 6 targets every game. And when he
Yes.
is healthy, he produces. That's a really, really good thing to have. How about Corey Davis? Everybody's darling in the preseason. Everybody's darling after week 1. Everybody hates him now after week 2.
Okay.
So some people are asking about whether or not you'd prefer
Don't
like
worry.
Rondell Moore or something to him.
Okay, no. All right. Corey Davis is going to be just fine. Okay. Hear me out here. One of the things that happened with the Jets and Zach Wilson is that he tried to do a Ryan Fitzpatrick and did like having a YOLO game that did not work. Okay. And Robert Saleh, after the game, said that he needs to learn how to play boring football. Boring football is okay. Boring football wins games. And Zach Wilson really didn't misread the defenses. He didn't make any egregious mistakes other than just making the wrong decision on who he was going to throw to and force feeding these big plays when he did not have to. Guess who is going to be the primary recipient of boring football? It is going to be Corey Davis. Don't worry about Corey Davis. Zach Wilson will have a much better game next week once he gets his rookie Abercrombie and Fitch, like gorgeous, cute little face that he has. And he's like, oh, wait a minute. I can't do that. I'm in the NFL, not at BYU. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Do not get rid of Corey Davis.
I find it so bizarre that people like Corey Davis it wasn't like a 1 game wonder where it was like, ooh, it was like, oh, you know what? He was good last year. He was great in the preseason, big in week 1. Wait, bad week 2? I'm out. I'm out. Can I get rid of him? Makes no sense to me.
It
Like,
was so many years of bad Corey Davis leading
I
up to
guess.
his breakout season. I get it. I was a Corey Davis hater for sure until he proved me wrong, and now I'm all on board. And he is that person that's going to help make Zach Wilson better, and Zach Wilson knows it. So it's not like he is, floundering out there. He's a very confident young man. He said himself when someone asked him, they're like, "Oh, how do you feel about the booing?" He's like, "They should have."
Yeah.
That's their job. I really like this kid, and he knows how to right the ship. And I think Corey Davis is going to be a monster. So, not worried.
Yeah, I agree. How about a lot of people are asking about both 2 players, Ronald Jones and Michael Carter for the Jets, and Carter had a good game here, surprisingly a little bit. So let's say both those guys are available on the waiver wire. Which one of them are you stashing, or would you try to stash both?
Okay, I would probably stash Michael Carter over Ronald Jones just because a head coach Bruce Arians and Lenny, they seem to be besties. So for me, I might lean Michael Carter here, but he is not an immediate start for me. He is going to be a wait and see for later on in the season.
Yeah, I agree. I certainly am more optimistic on Carter now than I was
Yes.
after week 1, and more, frankly. I mean, I think again you saw what he can do. He was solid, but you're certainly not starting him against Denver or anything like that. More of a long-term ad. Okay, guys, it is our witching hour. Thank you so much for stopping by. We are here every Tuesday from 1 to 2 Eastern. Again, answering all your waiver wire questions. If you didn't like the video, please do so. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Really helps us out. We'll be back with tons of videos all week long. And then again, every Tuesday, we will be here from 1 to 2 answering your waiver wire questions. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. Good luck with all your waiver claims.